So, Michael Stuhlbarg, you joined the world of Fargo this third season as Sy Feltz. Tell us a little bit about the character of Sy and also about coming into a show that's already very successful and critically acclaimed. What is that experience like for you?
I remember somebody saying to me, one of the actors, as we were about to jump in to start work on it, how intimidated they were. And I said to him, well, it's a new season. It's not like we're trying to fit into an old story somewhat. So we're all new characters. It's a whole new year, and there's nothing to be intimidated about. A lot to be excited about, and I think we were all very excited about it. When Noah approached me with the prospect of playing Sy, he had written some really wonderful stage directions that referred to the kind of person he was. He had referred to Mary Elizabeth Winstead's character as a kind of beautiful flower or a plant or something. And in following that metaphor a little bit, he said that what kind of plant would Sy be? Sy would not be a plant. He would be the bulldozer that raises the foliage in order to build condominiums. He also said that he would be as if he were a hockey player who got kicked out of the league for beating somebody's eye out and then becomes an accountant and does tax returns. Perhaps suggesting that he's got some violence that he's sitting on. So it started off on a really funny foot, and I don't know, I was kind of excited at the prospect of getting back into the world of the Coen brothers, the idea of that. I knew that they were executive producers on the show, so they had given it their blessing. And I had seen the first two seasons previously, so I had really enjoyed what they had done and the homages that they had sort of spread throughout the season. So the whole thing seemed like a whole lot of fun to me.
And I mean, the way you describe Sy, it's kind of a perfect metaphor for his character. I mean, this is a guy who, like so many other characters in Fargo, they are these ordinary people who find themselves in these horrific circumstances.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the situation that Sy and his boss, Emmitt, they find themselves in.
Well, we find them in 2010. It's the 25th wedding anniversary of Emmitt, who is played by Ewan McGregor. Ewan plays not twins, he plays brothers. There's the older brother, Emmitt, and the younger brother, Ray. Emmitt and I who play Sy, are business partners in a parking lot business. Emmitt is known as the parking lot king of Minnesota. And a couple of years ago, around the time of the recession in 2008, they could not get a loan to save their lives. So out of the blue, someone was recommended to them as a possible way to finance the purchasing, perhaps, of more land or business opportunities, parking lots, if you will. And they took him up on it. They get $1 million. Business goes great. And then they're ready to pay him back. And they can't get in touch with the people who have loaned them the money. So they don't necessarily know what to do about it, but they've got the money to pay him back. And all of a sudden, a representative of this company shows up. And he says, when they tell him that they're ready to pay him back, he says that's okay. And they quickly learn that he's an investor in their business, an unwanted investor in their business. And they find themselves of a sudden in a situation that they have no control over.
Well,
that's where it starts.
It's both funny and horrifying at the same time to watch your character and to watch Ewan McGregor, one of the characters Ewan McGregor plays, fighting against this immovable force that is Varga, played by the great David Thewlis. A lot of comedy in there, but also a lot of darkness and violence as well. As an actor, I mean, how do you balance those two extremes?
You know, it's a real fine line, and that was one of the great challenges of the season for me. Noah had said something early on which I found to be quite funny. He said, if because I had found everything, all the stuff that they were giving me, very funny. And he said, if it's as funny on the page as it is when you're doing it, then you're probably doing something wrong, which was kind of a clue to me in some ways of playing it for as much truth as you can. I mean, it's odd because it is a comic situation. And I think that there is a completeness in the playing of it, which I found. If I went too far, the directors would pull me back. If I didn't go far enough, they would bring me out a little bit more. On the whole, I think I came in with a lot more energy that I ended up using, or at least what the audience gets to see in what it is that we did. But it's a really fine line, you know. It's I guess there's a lid that you're trying to keep on it while you're trying to keep your cool and keep yourself in the situation. Play it for the truth that you can, but it's a challenge because the situation is quite extreme, or can be quite extreme.
And Sy in particular is really bewildered and ultimately changed, not to give anything away, but at least he's metaphorically changed as well. I mean, by the events of this show. I mean, I think about that scene where you come home to your wife and you're just absolutely distraught. I mean, can you talk about that change that Sy goes through?
Well, I think he starts in a place where he's quite content in his life. He wouldn't have imagined that such a windfall of opportunity might have come his way. And I don't think he was looking for it. I didn't think he necessarily even wanted it. I think he was content. And then when the opportunity of all this stuff comes along, it blindsides him. And all of a sudden he's on his back foot and he's trying to play catch up to this man who has come into his and Emmitt's life and has basically usurped Sy's place in being a partner with Emmitt somewhat. I think Sy feels somewhat kicked to the curb. So I think he goes on this journey of trying to save what is his, what he believes is his. And I still think he believes that he can save his situation and his opportunity. And then things just start to get somewhat beyond his reach. I think he thinks of himself as being a big fish in a little pond. And once the world kind of cracks open, it's a much bigger world. And a tough guy in a small world isn't necessarily going to be a tough guy in a larger world.
Right, exactly. And I mean, you really see him confronted with that. I think about the scene, really the dynamic between you and Ray, also played by Ewan McGregor, and Ray's girlfriend, played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead, when you're negotiating with her and you're trying to assert your power in order to get her to do something for you. And you go to meet her and you are confronted by something even more horrifying than you could have imagined.
Yeah, yeah. It's just one bad thing after another for Sy. Yeah. And I do believe his heart is in the right place, and I do believe he's trying to help Emmitt in this current situation, but the whole thing ends up somewhat slipping away from him.
You're right. I mean, you know, his loyalty to Emmitt is the thing that motivates him to go to these kinds of extremes.
Absolutely.
Why do you think he remains so loyal to Emmitt?
I think they've known each other a long time. I think they complement each other really well. I think he's happy to do all the groundwork while Emmitt kind of is the face and charisma of the company. And I think they finish each other's sentences. They are well suited to working in this particular business, and they've been very successful. And I think he loves what he does, and he loves being on the ground out there doing things for Emmitt and for the company because it serves him, but also because he feels a success under the circumstances. And then other things happen.
Speaking of those other things, I mean, there's a scene in, I think, the 5th episode it is, where you are made to drink from your favorite mug.
Yeah.
You say as we take a drink now. Tell us a little bit about that scene. I mean, I was given a World's Greatest Dad mug.
Good. Uh-oh.
But I mean, it really does. It typifies that kind of like towing that line between being absolutely terrifying but also hilarious at the same time.
Absolutely. No, it's a wonderful scene, and it was very difficult to play, but it's a variety of emotions that are happening to him all at once. Um, you know, stepping in, seeing someone in his office, barging in there and sort of in a righteous manner trying to assert his power, what little power that he thinks he still has left. And then it's sort of, it's an immediate slap in the face, one after the other, until he has pretty much nothing left by the end of the scene. And there was laughter in the doing of it and the creating of it. There was horror. And I think they really tried to stretch the scene out as much as possible to sort of bring the audience along within that horror that he was experiencing.
You have a lot of great scene partners within this show. I mean, Ewan McGregor, we've mentioned, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, David Thewlis, Carrie Coon. Talk about the way you guys work together as an ensemble and what Noah Hawley and your great group of directors and writers gave you guys that helped you.
Well, it's a gift from the very beginning, really. The scripts that they give us dazzle, delight, confuse. So if you're starting out with amazing text and amazing dramatic circumstances, it's up to you to bring the fire. And like you suggested, it's an amazing cast of actors, all of whom have great, acuity with the material, and our forces, each and every one. I'd worked with Ewan once before, so and had a wonderful time. So it was kind of a great opportunity for us to play together again. There was a lot of laughter there, and it was just another experience for me in getting to work with him up close and seeing what a gifted artist he is, how naturally charismatic he is, how easy he makes it seem, how much he knows about the art of cinema and doing these things. And David Thewlis is, kind of a hero of mine. And ever since I had seen him in Mike Leigh's film Naked so many years ago, I just, dazzled by him. And to have an opportunity to play with him was great. He couldn't have been kinder and more fun. I loved Mary Elizabeth. We had a lot of fun together as well. And I got to see Carrie periodically throughout the shoot, but we never had any material together. But I'm so happy for the opportunities that are coming her way. And yeah, I mean, it was great across the board. Even the cold winter that we shot through, January through May in Calgary in the snow is a character in the piece as well. And as such, made it even more fun.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned the Cohens, and you had worked on A Serious Man, which got you a Golden Globe nomination. What did that kind of recognition mean for you? Because, I mean, that was a big breakthrough role for you.
Absolutely. It was a huge turning point in my life. Up till then, I had been doing theater in New York for many, many years. And getting a chance at working with them and on, their material was kind of a dream. I'd always been a fan of theirs. I had met Joel a couple of times. I think that both of them had seen me in some plays, so I was on their radar a little bit in terms of theater. And they just gave me a chance, really, and I kind of leapt at it and did the best I could. And people seemed to respond to it and really enjoyed the movie. And it's been, one of the highest points in my life at this point, getting to work with them.
And from there, you've gotten other film and television work. You got a couple of high-profile films coming out this year that I wanted to bring up. Call Me by Your Name, which played at Sundance. Tell us a little bit about that film.
Call Me by Your Name is based on a novel of the same title, Call Me by Your Name, by Andre Aciman. It takes place in northern Italy. We shot it in a little town outside of Milan, about 45 minutes. Near Crema, I think it was called Moscazzano. The story is about, I play a Latin and Greek professor who comes there every summer, and accepts a graduate student to come work with him every summer on his correspondence, and then he helps the graduate student with whatever work or publication it is, their dissertation or thesis, whatever it is they happen to be working on. I have a young son played by Timothée Chalamet, and this year's graduate student is played by Armie Hammer, and the two of them hit it off right away. And it's kind of a coming-of-age story for Timothy's character, and a new love blooms between the two of them. And I watch as this happens, as any loving and caring parent would, with amusement and humor and trepidation, and also a great heart in terms of seeing something special happen for his son during this summer. It's kind of one of those buoyant summers that occasionally we're lucky to have in our lives, when something wonderful happens and we look back on it with great fondness. This is one of those summers. This is a film about one of those summers for Timothy's character.
I certainly look forward to seeing it. I've heard nothing but good things. Now, you've also, you're going to be in The Shape of Water from Guillermo del Toro. Can you tell us anything about that film, or is the details kind of kept under wraps?
I think at this point, I can say a couple of things. It's a real combination of genres. It celebrates film. It is a Cold War romance. There's great humor in it. There's great darkness in it. There is magical realism, which he has brought into most of his work as well. It's really full of all the things we love cinema for. I'll have to check in and find out exactly what I can say and what I can't, but it should be a feast and a great treat. The cast is Sally Hawkins and Michael Shannon and Richard Jenkins and Octavia Spencer and Doug Jones. It's a wonderful group of actors, and we had a lot of fun making that too.
I look forward to that as well. Also, you're going to be in Steven Spielberg's new film, The Papers. I don't know if you've shot your scenes for that yet or not, or
no, they are shooting right now here in New York, and I will join them sometime in the middle of July.
Okay. And then Looming Tower as well, which is a project for Hulu, for which you've cut your hair.
I have.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. The Looming Tower is based on Lawrence Wright's novel of the same title. It monitors the rise of Al-Qaeda and the bureaucracy that happens between the CIA and the FBI leading up to 9/11. So it takes place from 1998 to 2004. I'm playing Richard Clark, who was the head of counterterrorism under Clinton, under Bush, and worked for 4 presidents, has been in government for 30 years, and who famously, at the 9/11 testimonies, basically told the world that told the public that your government failed you. So it's quite weighty and really engaging, and it's a wonderful cast as well, with Jeff Daniels and Peter Sarsgaard and Alec Baldwin and Tahar Rahim from the film A Prophet, which came out a few years back. There's a number of wonderful actors in it, and we're about halfway through. They're taking a hiatus, or at least I'm on hiatus at the moment, while they go off to shoot scenes in Morocco and South Africa.
Well, I look forward to seeing that as well. Michael Stuhlbarg, thank you so much. Congratulations on Fargo and all of your work from this year, and thank you for taking the time to chat.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome. Have a good one.
Thanks, you too.